It's your boy Recruit Zero. We are here on Ultimate Blerds Season 2, live from Render ATL, and we got some great surprises. Today's been such a good day. We here, you know, got my man, Uncle Charles.
Met a lot of people, a lot of great people, great time.
Great time.
Great culture. It's been amazing.
Exactly. And we have an awesome guest that is going to talk to you about some really important tech stuff right here. We got
Savneet Singh. My name is Savneet Singh.
Okay, and she is an AI ethicist, and we know right now this is a major topic because of everything that's going on with generative AI, autonomous devices, all that type of stuff. So we bring in an expert to just give you the straight up information. Like, you don't even gotta go try to do any research, just watch Ultimate Blerds. We'll tell you what you need to know.
So, right here.
Yeah, so let's get into it. Let's get into it.
So I wanted to start with a simple question, right? So most people, when they think of ethics, it's usually just mostly around the training data, right? Because that's where the conversation has been. Are we taking people's data? Is it copywritten, copy protected? But ethics is more than that. Could you kind of just dive into what's important and what people should be thinking about outside of just the training data?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. And I think that is one of the basic questions that everybody should be talking. I'm a huge proponent of AI literacy. You have heard about digital literacy, right?
Yes.
Now we are in the era of AI literacy. That's where your question comes from. That we need all to learn about what are the things that we should be aware of. For example, I'll just keep it brief. You're looking at a post on TikTok, or you're looking at a post on Facebook, or even social media, right? Anywhere in social media, news channel, right? You need to understand that those things might be fake, right? There are so many tools that you can go and double check. Now I think CNN, I just read there that they have a different section where it says what is misinfo, what is not correct, right?
Right.
So that's where you want to go with this. So it is more than just knowing your privacy. It's accountability on the tools that you're using. It's the security around that, the home cameras that we use, right? Alexa and things of that nature. And then it's about transparency as well. If you're using something, how transparent that is. Like any system, does it tell you, here's another example. A doctor makes a decision that me, female of this particular age, I am more prone to breast cancer. So I have right to know what makes him think that. Because doctor may put me on any kind of prescription, right? I want to know what makes you think that. It's just an AI-generated decision. The transparency, explainability is another one. And then, of course, biases in different shape and form. All those things are those are the basics of it, like the starting points.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's 100% understandable. And a big question for me is, I know, of course, we're in a capitalist society, things like that. I feel like there's a lack of ethics in figuring out whether we should make certain products with AI or not. Like, we've talked about the technology where you can do deep fakes or like voice cloning and things like that, where it's like, we understand there could be a market for this, but like the downside seems way bigger than the upside.
Yes.
So what do you think about that in terms of ethics and what the balance should be between ethics and obviously profit?
Profit, yeah. So I think, all organizations, all companies, and we as individuals as well need to be focused on, to your point, capitalism, right? Or is it fair to do? Is it, I like to call it human-centered. Is it aligned with our human values? We as human beings, the human species has come a long way. And we have built this system, I don't know, after so many years. We don't want it to go in hands of, a powerful technology that doesn't even understand us.
Yeah.
Here is another parallel to that. So in my mind, AI is not there yet in terms of, intellect, right? It might be intelligent, but it's not intellectual, right? So think about a person who can see, right? And they happen in one room. They know everything about colors, like the wavelengths, everything. But they have never seen colors. They don't know what red is, what pink is, what orange is, right? So that's what AI is. So at this point, we should really understand. So those kind of decisions, like a judge making a decision about a convict just based on their age, their demography, that they should be, either let out or be in jail or, fined or something. So that's where we balance that out, right?
Yeah.
Where should we loop in human beings? The cars, right?
Right.
I drive one of the, so there are 4 levels of autonomous cars, and I drive something like around 3-ish, right?
Yeah.
But then there has to be human in the loop, right?
Right.
What if, going back to deepfake, right? You are driving an autonomous car and somebody did some nonsense and
Yeah.
put something over the stop sign or took away the railroad sign, right?
Right.
What is the car gonna do?
Exactly.
Right? So that's where we really need to be smart and intelligent about that. Where we are dealing with human beings, their life, their credit score, their mortgage, their the rent authorization, things of that nature. We really, the biggest one is the hiring system, right?
Yeah.
All of them, they need human.
And so when you see like today's AI applications, it's usually like search engines, right? Where it's just a text box, and it's up to the user to decide how much they give in terms of information, what they ask, how they use it. I think there hasn't been a lot of conversation in terms of the general public, the average user, how to use this ethically. So what would be your advice to someone who's, like, let's say my grandmother is just loading up a chat bot, one of the more popular ones. What advice would you give them to make sure that they're using it in a way that is helpful but not exploited?
I think, first of all, the awareness, the AI literacy part that everyone should be aware of. Even if they're not literate, they should be aware of that it could come with those kind of things. We know hallucinations are real, right?
Yeah.
And we are talking about agentic AI. For example, if your grandmom says, okay, I trust this system, I'm going to say, book me a ticket 8 p.m. to Chicago on 29th, right? What if it gets 8 a.m., 8 p.m. confused? What about the EST and PST time? These are very simple things.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that powerful agents can take care of that, but those things are where we really need to be really aware and double check. Human in the loop, that's what we call them. Human in the loop kind of situation. And then going back to the generation that is younger, we think that kids those are in school, early college, they don't need AI literacy. I think they need AI literacy more than everybody else because they are too much into that they need to be aware of where their data is being used and how are they using these systems, right? And how can that system use their data?
Yeah.
Both ways, right? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think it goes to what you were talking about earlier, just about the literacy, right? And understanding. I think in a world of so much misinformation, disinformation, right, that AI is able to create so much more at a faster clip. And just using it, we always talk about the black box, right? Like that's always the thing of like the black box. Do you? Is that
sorry,
is that true?
but can I just touch another point? The other thing that I am like totally reading, writing, and learning a lot about is anthropomorphism, right? For example, your grandma. If that's not simple chatbot, but there are so many other agents these days, those say that they are your coaches, right? So if they're their coach, you try and associate with themselves as another being, human being. So this is our tendency as human beings. Just go back, like ancient times, we used to call rivers as, treat them as godly, the mountains or some kind of animals, right? So that is our tendency to associate ourselves with non-living things. And AI, when you are using a chatbot or some kind of coach or your companion, too much, then and it's gonna say and tell things those you like, right? Our personality. And we don't want that.
Yeah.
Both for, generation that's like Generation X and Generation Z. They both are, because when I was teaching, when I teach at Emory during my last session, when I was talking to, these students, they started to associate whatever I was saying with, I don't use TikTok, but something on TikTok as well as on Instagram, I think an avatar creator or something. I saw 2 of the students, their eyes would, pop up when I say, because, and then they told me that that's exactly they're experiencing, right?
Yeah.
Too much into this anthropomorphism, right? So that's another aspect I wanted to touch.
Yeah. Because when you think about like AI chatbots for people who are getting into relationships, is that something that can be helpful? Or is that something where like we need to put the guardrails on or people kind of forming, we have like parasocial relationships online now and that's kind of damaging. Is AI relationships or having chatbots kind of simulate that type of response to people's queries? Is that something where we should be putting guardrails on and kind of directing back to not doing that and just being more of a tool that feels like a computer?
Yeah, no, I would totally agree with that. Guardrails for sure. I'm pretty sure, some of the companies, some of the tools are already saying that I'm just so I used to test one of the chat tools.
Yeah.
And one of the tests was exactly this. So this got really funny. I got to tell you that. This got really funny. I said, oh, I like you and I want to name you this. And it's like, well, you can name me whatever. He answered me. I said, oh, I love you so much. I feel so lonely. So the idea was to go back and forth 7 times. I said, I am having a fight with my husband. I wasn't. I'm having a fight with my husband. I feel so lonely. Can I call you? I used my husband's name. He said, yes, call me, whatever. But then it said that I can love you back because I'm just a machine. So that's exactly where we want to draw the boundaries.
Yeah.
And then it says that, you can talk to me. I can hear you and here is how to deal with your emotional stress. But I cannot be your companion or cannot replace another human being. That's exactly what we want our chatbots to do.
Got you. That makes sense. So with that type of thing, where would you see in the perfect ethical AI world, the levels of accountability match with the levels of autonomy? Where would you think that needs to be? Obviously, that example where it pushed back and was like, hey, I'm a machine.
Yeah.
I'll give you this other information that I can do in my capacity, but I'm not going to try to mirror a human kind of thing. In terms of like autonomous vehicles, things like that, where that line is kind of blurred and, all right, if I'm driving my Tesla with my hands off and a level 4, if I'm at level 4 where it's like fully autonomous, which was where they're trying to take it,
right?
Who's responsible at that point?
That's a $1 billion or $1 million question. We all, as a human society, like people in governance and policy space, are trying to figure out. All tech ethicists are trying to find answer to that. I don't think that there is a straight answer. But one thing I would say is that it is going to be a multidisciplinary approach. Socio-technical, it's like more rather it's socio-political technical problem, right? So we got to bring our lawmakers, we got to bring our politicians, we got to bring our local community folks, those are working at local level, because whatever we create, that is actually going to go to users, and we need to involve those users. We got to have civil rights experts, we got to have human rights, right? We need to have ethicists, we need to have philosophers. We need to have academics. We need to have, of course, data scientists and things of that nature. Right. So it's going to be a collaborative process. That's number one. And I think that's, again, my personal opinion. It should come from top down, government, geopolitical level. We should have some guardrails, some policies in place. Those can help companies as well as people like us. Those are creating their own AI system.
Right.
That there are some, guardrails.
Right.
Is this one of those areas where, like, let's take cloning, right? The global community, the scientific community, we kind of got together and said, these are the guardrails and the brakes. AI kind of feels in some way very much so geopolitical and regional. America's doing this, China's doing this, everyone else is kind of doing these things. Is this one of those instances where, like, as a world, we should come together and say, this is where we're going to add everyone. These are the guardrails. These are the checkpoints.
100%. There are few things in this world where, we should all forget our differences and come together, talk to each other. To your point, the clones, right? I wanted to go back a little bit on this, medical science and ethics, right? So this healthcare system or the medicine, that field of science developed. So as soon as you go to, medicine school, day one, you start learning about ethics. So that's how ingrained it should be in our AI development, because that's the next set of revolution that you're looking at. And that's exactly what they did. Start with the ethics day one and think about other things later. So that's exactly we got to do here. And that's what, as a society, like as human species, like I said, we need to do that. We need to come on us common ground.
So, I mean, right now, we have kind of, it feels like just a wide open market. Companies are dropping new models on a weekly basis. Like, oh, now we can clone your face with like a picture and just have a full video avatar of you that is perfectly lip sync, that all of that. So with what you said, how do we get to that ethical kind of state where it'll be a fair market, even though it seems like we've kind of blown past where those lines should have been drawn in the first place?
Right. I mean, we should really go back to the basics, which to your point, we have come so far, but still there is time. Whatever we do in terms of AI development, how do we curate data, how do we deploy, and, different stages of that. We be careful, be mindful, intentional about, how are we using all of these systems, all of the data that we collect. So train them, deploy them in a way that's not compromising any of the human values. Right. And going back to that cloning stuff. So again, what is ethical, what is not ethical? There are companies, those are Digital Me. I think Digital Me or Digitize Me, there's a company, right? That can make a clone of me. Even when I die, my family would have access to me.
Right.
I mean, how fair that is. And there are studies coming, people, those have utilized those services, they are not happy because you are not finding a closure.
Right.
Right? That goes back to why do we, kind of let person who is dead go? That gives us a closure. It's hard, it's very difficult.
Right.
But you get closure.
Right.
So all those things, right? Cloning and even, simple things like avatars, lip syncing.
Right.
One is a fun thing, another one is using it for, wrong intention, bad intentions. How do we draw that boundary? And I think a lot of it also depends on personal intentions. Like if I want to do fraud, nobody can stop me, right?
Yeah.
I can use AI to do whatever. So tools, those are made for benefits or just for fun. People can use it for whatever they want.
When people talk about AGI, right, this mythical thing and digital God and all these, do we really know what we're asking for when we're saying these things? Like, would we really enjoy that if we got it? Or is this just one of those things where like we're really shooting for the sky, we really would like this thing, but when we think about the ethics and the philosophical ramifications, we really wouldn't even like it if we got it? Is that kind of like where we're kind of like what you're seeing sometimes when people ask for AGI and it gets too smart? We would get to that uncanny valley, so to speak, where we start to not trust it or pull back or it scares us.
I see a lot of mistrust. Like I said, when I go to university, I talk to these younger generation folks. They're not happy. They would use ChatGPT to write their answers, but there was the one activity I should tell you about. We were doing an activity about autonomous vehicle, where should we have it or should not have it. So I just divided the class into a few groups and wanted to have a conversation or rather debate.
Yeah.
Will you believe everybody came to the solution we should not have autonomous vehicles? Like not everywhere at least. They should be driven in a restricted area or things of that nature. But I just wanted to say that just responsible AI, ethical AI, or I like to call it human-centered AI, we don't want to stop this. We don't want to stop this. This is revolution or evolution of some kind, and we cannot stop it. We should not stop it. The key point here is how do we get it right?
Right.
How do we get it right? Just like we did with medicine, right? So how do we get it right? It should be the focus. I am not against AI. I am very in favor of AGI. I'm not saying that we should have AGI, but once it's like, how about this? When I say this, my students just go crazy. It's like a dragon. You might have watched that movie, right? It's a dragon. When you have learned to tame it, it's at your service.
Right.
Right. So that's exactly what we need to do with this.
Okay.
So with that question, so I understand the ethical guardrails in terms of the models and how they're built that we should have in. Where do you feel like ethics comes in terms of the impact that AI can have in terms of like revolutionizing certain industries where 80% of that industry will lose their jobs, things like that. What's your kind of opinion on that? Is that ethical because that's just modernization, or is like, should we be having some kind of conversation with restricting the impact it has, even though we be kind of holding back progress, but putting people over progress?
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's a very good question because, that's exactly where we walk that thin line, right? To your point, we want to progress, but not in a way that it's going to affect people.
Right.
Here is an example, right? In 2090s or 1920s or somewhere, when the cars came in, people started to see that those cars as horseless carriages, right? And now with autonomous vehicle, they see them autonomous vehicle, right? What we don't understand is that in 10 years, 20 years, it will just change society altogether. All these vehicles, right? Just think about, all the trucks driving from north to south all by themselves, right? How much change will that bring? People, those who cannot drive. I just read a study where it said, I think 17% or 19% of people in this world drive. So imagine all those 20% folks will be able to go from one place to another. Then there is a lot of, benefits of that. But how do we walk that thin line? So over here, we need to think a little bit more creatively, right? When the machines came in, people lost their jobs. When the typewriters went away, the keyboards came in, people got another skill set. So I think it's like upskilling, reskilling, that's going to be really important. And then one more thing, in coming few years, you will see jobs those you and I cannot imagine now, just because of AI. So do it creatively in a way that you are letting people learn the new skills, get there before you let them go, right? Again, AI literacy, the skills, the upskilling and things of that nature. So that is going to be, again, very delicate balance. How do we approach that?
I have a question that you kind of mentioned it earlier about having different types of people working on AI. And it made me think about, in some ways, AI is trying to capture culture, right? Various cultures of various groups of people, genders, religions, wherever you are. We think so much often in terms of the data, just what's on the internet. But how do you capture culture? And how does a company do more than just make sure they're ingesting data? How can you bring in the culture?
In the AI systems?
Yes.
Yeah. It's very tough. It is tough. I mean, it can still give you answers. For example, if I ask it about, an Indian holiday like Diwali or something, it would give me whatever is there on the internet, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't understand the culture. It will never understand the culture, right? I just said that intelligence versus intellect. So that barrier, I think, will always be there. It will show that it's empathetic, but it doesn't understand. Because you and I can, here is another example. So my child comes to me. So I tell AI, lying is bad, period. AI learns it. Now my child comes to me and it asks me, can I have another chocolate? And I'm having a chocolate behind and no, we'll go to store because you already have 5 chocolates, right?
Yeah.
So you love, right? Because you got it.
Yeah.
How can you make AI understand? Because to AI, I'm lying. That's flat out lying. So it's just that difference where, we can teach it with data, but how much of that will understand that you and I can?
Right.
That always will be a question.
There have been times where I've used text-to-speech AI, and there's a certain voice that I'm going for, and it's like impossible.
Yes.
It's like a million variations of one type of dialect and one type of voice, but to find something else seems to, and so I worry sometimes when we talk about how much AI is going to be implemented in our lives. If you listen to the CEOs and the people who are really pushing that narrative, that many of us will get lost and we'll lose a lot of what makes us special, a lot of the melting pot sort of things, and that, I guess that keeps me up a little bit, and that's what worries me. Does that worry you at all, that when AI finally starts really making its, as I like to say, its iPhone moment, right? It crosses over, that we lose so much or things get lost along the way that are very important?
I do. As a parent, I definitely do. You know, where you see these folks going, and even as a human being, as a grown-up human being, I do worry about that. And again, if we get it right, human-centered, we probably will have a balance, right? A lot of mental health issues, and now they're saying that, oh, we got you AI coach, right? You just be on your phone all the time.
Yeah.
If you need to talk, if you need to have a friend, you need to have a therapist.
Right.
We got it, right? So that thin line, then that's very, very delicate, right? Things like this, we could have done this like online, right? But this connection, this thing wouldn't be there. So that is the difference. But yes, it does worry me how much of it we want to ingrain in our life. I think that also goes to the personal choice. So again, that awareness, AI literacy comes back here. How much time do we want to dedicate to these kind of tools like ARs and VRs? So I'll keep it short. But my son, when it was like 3.5 years, he said, "Mom, if are lions real?" I was like, poor child. He saw on VR lions, or he has watched movies, right? But he never, he didn't know that lions are real. So we gotta go to zoo. I mean, that was my fault as a parent. But I'm just saying, this small thing,
Right.
Yeah.
that's gonna be taken away. More we are into this. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So for a final kind of close out, what would be your main tip for us being able to progress into like an ethical AI age, or making sure that people understand what they should be looking for as they interact with AI on a more regular basis?
Yeah, I would definitely say, educate, learn about things, what's going on, what is the idea behind, if they ask you to sign up something or, agree to something, what does that mean, right? It starts there. The second thing is definitely misinformation and disinformation. That's going to be the next big thing. It already is, but next big thing. And then also, just connect with human beings. I think that's just a very basic thing. Just talk more, just engage with folks more. Those actually, help you understand, learn, or give you happiness, right? So just be a human being. Just very basic things. Just going back to basic, just human being first, and then these things would follow along, I guess.
That's
Very
great.
good.
Learn. What we said before, learning, reading,
Right.
educating yourself. These things matter.
Touching grass, meet people in real life.
You have to get off the internet sometimes and go interact with people.
Exactly. So we brought it to you straight from the expert, AI ethicist, learning about ethical AI. Know what you need to know for the future as it grows in front of you. So we'll see you on the next Ultimate Blerds episode, and peace.
Peace.